don't think it's on. Oh, yeah.
There we go.
I don't
All
think
right.
it's on.
Good evening, Hampstead. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, June 8th at approximately 7:02 p.m. And Kathy, would you mind doing the roll call?
Jason Giard.
Here.
Megan Malcolm.
Here.
Caitlin Cornell.
Here.
Erin Pellegrini.
Here.
David Smith.
Here.
Also present this evening, seated with the board is CFO Business Administrator Jeff Farrell. The presence of other district administrators will be conducted in the meetings.
Thank you, Kathy. We'll go ahead and stand for the pledge. Mr. Giard, would you mind starting us off?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, in your packets you do have meeting minutes from May 25th. Regular meeting, and May 25th, non-public. I'll take a moment to read over. Ready, I'll be looking for a motion to approve both set the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those approved, raise your hand. All approved, yes.
All set.
Both sets, yes. Do you have any public comments?
Jim Sweeney appeals to walk on road.
Hello, how you doing? Hello, Clara. I just want to talk about vaccines for the fall. I know you guys have a recommendation soon for your plan with DOE. I hope you hold off on that recommendation. There is no current vaccines for most of the children in the middle school and any of the children in the central school. Pfizer will be the results by September on their trial and hopefully emergency use authorization for 5 to 11-year-olds by September. Parents passage will be ending in the summer. So I hope you hold off on your recommendation. You know, making a decision to go to a mass because their whole population has the opportunity to get a vaccine is different. But this population does not have that opportunity. I know masks are not easy, but this is not Labor of the Week. Masks work, and science doesn't take a day off. Science led us to get a vaccine, which allowed me not to wear a mask at work. But, you know, that's not what we are for now with the kids in the middle school. So hopefully you hold off on any recommendation until the C comes out with a guidance on the vaccine. Thank you.
Any other public comment? That was it? Okay, thank you. Okay.
It's all recorded.
I'll say it again if you want.
No.
Okay, so we're going to move on to awards and recognitions. We do have recognitions for awards. There we go. So awards for our Pinkerton seniors. We'd like to call up Andy McDonald. Andy, would you like to speak to the mic about your time at Pinkerton and just give us who you are?
He's like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Hi, Steve.
So my name's Andy MacDonald, and I go to Pinkerton. What do you guys want to know?
Are you going to school after? What's your, just...
I plan to go to Chapman University out west for 4 years and study business administration.
That's great.
And over the course of my high school career, I was a class president for 4 years, the National Honor Society vice president for 2 years, captain of basketball, soccer, and I played lacrosse this year too.
Yep. So, congratulations. I was there last night for your graduation.
Oh, thank you.
Heard the chants.
Yeah.
4 more years.
Yeah.
We want to say very impressed with you, and it's the reason why you've been selected as one of the recipients for this award from the Hampstead School Board. The Pinkerton alumni have chosen you for distinct purposes, like you said. So, congratulations.
Thank you guys so much.
Congratulations.
Do we have Haley in the room? We do not, correct? Yep.
Yeah.
So we also,
She's got a game.
yeah. Haley Davis was the other recipient. She has a game tonight. I believe it's the finals for Pinkerton, and so we wish them well if we don't know the score already. And Haley Davis, you will receive this. We'll make sure that she receives this as the other recipient and congratulate her and her endeavors. So thank you to both Haley and to Andy. So thank you. All right. Next, I'm going to ask Mrs. Donola to recognize 2 students from the middle school.
Good evening, everyone. It seems just yesterday that Andy was a 5th grader here, so it was just amazing. It is my pleasure this evening to tell you about 2 of our 8th grade students who have been selected as scholar leaders through the the New England League of Middle Schools. This program, I'm fogging up. This program gives public recognition to 2 students from participating New Hampshire schools who distinguish themselves in terms of outstanding middle-level scholarship and leadership. This year, teachers selected these students unanimously with the following qualities in mind: teamwork, dependability, personal goals, positive interactions with others, productivity, respect for diversity, and service to others. It is my pleasure to present this year's HMS recipients, Callie Miller and Braden Wheeler. Braden, congratulations.
Thank you.
Callie, congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nice job. All right, so nice job. Thank you both very much.
Yeah, congratulations to you both.
Yeah. We're going to move on to the next agenda item, to the principal's report. We're going to call up somebody that's probably given their last one to us, maybe. Mr. Collins?
Well, actually, I'm going to start the report and hand it off appropriately to Dr. Cheney. So I'd like to begin by saying Phase 3 has been an interesting way to wrap up my career with children after everything that has occurred over the last while. Seeing kids being kids is what's great. I just want to report out they're having a great time at school. It's so wonderful to see the kids just being kids again. Yeah, they're spending time together. They're getting in trouble, bonding with the principal occasionally, but most importantly, they're being kids. I mean, we go out to the playground, they're having fun. They can't play soccer or basketball, the contact sports, but there's this resurgence of playing kickball and kicking the soccer balls at each other and just being kids. It's wonderful. The tent's been very useful. Thank you very much for making sure that happened. It serves as our second lunch area because we can only put so many kids in that cafeteria. It's worked out well. It also serves as a shaded structure on us, particularly the days like when the sun has really been very hot. It's been challenging at the car loop, but we understand. There's a lot of families out there. I just want to publicly say to everybody, thank you for being patient. You have to. It takes a little bit longer, but it's a necessity for safety, and it's working well. Teachers are just enjoying teaching all of the kids again, face to face, and enjoying the time with them. And I have to reach out to my remote teachers. They're knocking it out of the park. Right behind me in the conference room is Maggie Garside teaching first graders and kindergartners. I tell you, I want to be a kindergartner or first grader again. She's just doing a fantastic job. Marla and Kate are just doing fabulous. So, I mean, I feel very confident that things have gone well. Field day, it's time to get back to some normalcy. We're going to have field day. Not a full field day. We're going to do a grade level at a time, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. The theme this year is Olympics. Like everything else, it got delayed, so we might as well delay that too. So the forecasts on Thursday and Friday are perfect. They're looking at somewhere around the 70 mark, and it'll be just a nice day. There's a little thing called 30% chance of rain. With everything else on this year, nothing. We'll make it happen. Kindergartners will be actually doing a little smaller thing on Monday as well. At the end of the year, we're trying to bring back a couple of other things. We're gathering with our fourth graders in the gym to do our end of the year pizza party. They've roped in a veteran fourth grade parent sitting right amongst the board there, doing some stuff with them with the yearbook and the t-shirts, because she's an expert at that stuff. Thank you, Erin. But thank you to the parents for the support and understanding. We typically have too many parents there, but we had to keep it down to a very small pod here, and I just really appreciate all the work they're doing for the kids. Preschool's going to wrap up on that Tuesday, the 15th of June, which is typically they wrap up the day before everybody else. And then the last day of school is the 16th, as you all know. One of our traditions is to do a move-up day, but with everything going on, particularly in the K-1 numbers, we will not be doing a move-up day with the youngest ones on that day for a lot of reasons, but we will do a move-up day with our students in 2, 3, and 4. Unfortunately, we're not bringing the middle school kids. The fourth graders that are coming over to the middle school, we can't do that this year. It doesn't make sense. Just so you know, those students that are out in the cohort C and D, we've invited them into school to do the move-up day. A couple of them have actually been coming to the school for some other stuff. So slowly they're starting to come back to school, which is wonderful to see. It will be an early release day for the central school. That means 12:45. One of the things that we typically do at the end of the year is prepare all the reports for families of the assessments, report cards, and such. What we've decided this year is we're just going to mail them all out probably the 16th or the 17th, so that way they're all together. That'll include the iReady assessment, the Dibbles assessment, and for the few that took the New Hampshire SAS, they'll get the parent report along with their child's report card. So it'll be, just look for that big packet for the families. And I have a couple of things just to say congratulations. I'll start off with the teacher wonderful news. Our music teacher, Amanda Stark, has been selected as the New Hampshire VFW Teacher of the Year, so she'll be recognized at some sort of an event. Hampstead has this long tradition of having quite a few of our people that have won this award, so Amanda's just one of many wonderful teachers. As you know, we've got great ones here. And most importantly, the kids are the reason we show up every day. If you haven't been to our website or caught the news, we have 4 of our students that actually received an award on their poetry. And if you check our website, you can learn more about that. But congratulations to Aubrey Perry, Caden Wisecarver, and Sarah Snyder. They were in that runner-up category for the state thing on writing about water. And Alexa Bowman, who is a very sweet little lady. In fact, her great-grandfather sat on the board 40 years ago when I showed up. But Alexa was selected as the #1 poet in the state, and we actually have a video posted through YouTube, our channel, and stuff like that if parents want to hear her reading her little piece of poetry. So congratulations to my kids. They're wonderful. Now, as far as the future, since Dr. Cheney's she's on.
Just one real quick, sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Collins. On behalf of the school board, we want to give you a small token of our appreciation. You know, it doesn't seem like it does justice for 40 years. However, know that you've made a large dent, not even a medium dent, to all of our lives. We cherish you. We appreciate you. Many, many more words could be said, but we want to give you this as a small token from the school board and the district. We know that there's other celebrations that we'll take part in, as well as others in the district, in the town. I wish we could do a huge parade through every street in town, but
No.
but want to give you this and say thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
Congratulations. Yes.
that's nice.
Go, Dr. Cheney.
Thank you, and that's a tough act to follow. I just want to mention, too, that the PTSA actually had a celebration in our building on Monday of this week. They wanted to honor Mr. Collins and his legacy by donating a bench. Mr. Collins is a big fan of gardening, so they added a beautiful bench to our perennial garden that he's always enjoyed while at the building. So it was a lovely ceremony where the PTSA kids, actually, some of them came down and spoke about their memories with him. The middle school band performed. It was a very lovely ceremony to honor Mr. Collins. And then looking ahead, I wanted to share with you about next year, our preschool, kindergarten, and grade 1 numbers and some information around that. There have been quite a few questions. Our preschool will return to its prior model of a 5-day-a-week program, a 4-day-a-week program, and then the afternoons will have a 4-day-a-week and a 3-day-a-week program. Due to our kindergarten pre-registrations, our numbers are up. We're in the low 90s right now for our pre-registrations, so we're anticipating 5 classrooms of kindergarten. And then our grade 1 information shows about a dozen kids returning from different places that they've gone this year. We had some students leave for private kindergartens, and we have about a dozen of those students returning this fall. But our first grade numbers are a little bit lower, so we're looking at going with 4 classrooms in our first grade. We recently hosted parent evenings for our preschool and our incoming kindergartners. They were well attended, but if folks weren't able to attend, they're posted on our website, so please take a peek, and if you have any questions, of course, always let us know. And then actual registration will be happening in July this summer. It's a little later than normal for our incoming students, but be on the lookout for that, and then we'll have our screenings this summer. So we're looking forward to an exciting start to next year with lots of little ones, keeping our school moving forward. So thank you.
Real quick question, Dr.
Yeah.
Cheney, if you have the numbers, if you don't, we can catch up another time. Do you have tentative numbers of what student enrollment looks like for next year, totals?
So we're rebounding. This year we were around about 435. We're looking to be closer to like that 460 mark. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but enrollment is moving up. Our
Okay.
incoming Ks are bigger than our exiting fourths.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and Mr. Collins would like to say a few more words.
Let's consider this my final principal's report, because I knew those numbers too, but I was glad she had the answer. I just want to, again, say thank you to a lot of people that have been very kind to me over the years. I've always shared with a lot of people that getting a job is being in the right place at the right time. So I was fortunate enough that when I was starting my career, I was actually teaching in Massachusetts, and my timing was right to come to Hampstead. I actually drove up here and did an interview in the old office over in Plaistow. Didn't even really know where Hampstead was. A friend of the family let me know they were looking for a music teacher. Well, now 40 years later, I'm saying goodbye because it worked out. Right there is where I taught at the beginning of the whole career. Here, I've worked with a lot of school boards, administrators, teachers, and parents. What's most important to me is I sort of figured this out the other day. I've probably worked within the vicinity of 5,000 students that have gone through the schools over the years. For many of those students, I've had the good fortune to be their teachers, and some others with principals as their principal. And there's 2 core things that have been important to me over the years, and I hope they carry forward. I wasn't a music teacher training musicians. It was my goal to prepare future audiences. As a principal, I wasn't just helping students and teachers in school. It's been my goal to help those educators and families prepare children for their future. There are many stories to be told, but I won't do that tonight. But I want to say thank you to the teachers that shaped me as a teacher and a principal. I have the names, but I'm not going to read them because I'll cry or something stupid like that. But it's you guys that are the colleagues around you. You're the core reason these schools are great. Thank you to the boards that are willing to give up their time to make sure Hampstead schools are great. You guys are wonderful. I have memories of one particular member I mentioned earlier. He was a grandfather. This was part of his legacy, was to take care of the schools. Thank you to those parents and other volunteers, the quiet cogs that make learning so much better. I've said to many families that research shows that the most successful students come from the homes of school volunteers. Thank you to the leaders that supported me over the years. Those leaders they pushed me for excellence, but it was always to make children first. I do have to mention these names: Gloria, Jill, Nancy, Maggie, Teresa, and even Kathy Belcher. Yes, secretaries know everything, and they know exactly what we need to do to get the jobs done. I really appreciate those people. Now the really important people, the children. Abby and Tommy showed me how to be wonderful. They showed me how wonderful life can be with even the challenges that were given to them. Jeffrey, Kaylee, Jonathan, Matthew shaped my understanding of the need to show compassion to a family at a delicate moment. To my few musicians that carry their music career forward in other careers, I'm honored to have been part of your career in music as a music teacher, performer, business agent, or music in some way. To my other musicians, actually all of them, we have memories and experiences that I hope help you appreciate the art and performance of music. And to my little ones, I've enjoyed seeing you emerge from that little one stepping into the first day of school. Like our 2 award winners tonight, I remember both of them. They were in one of our early public kindergarten classrooms. And seeing you years later like them today. As a matter of fact, I have some of them that are now teachers at my school. Thank you to my former students that kept in touch, sharing their accomplishments. I could talk all the day about my students, like one sitting down at the corner of the table there. Wonderful is the word that comes to mind. What I find fascinating is I've had the fortune of working with multiple generations. I get former students that returned as parents, and yes, even a couple of grandparents. I'm blessed. So looking ahead, thank you, Dr. Cheney, for being the right person at the right time for Central School. The new work begins for you, and now you are ready. You and Maria, along with all those other new leaders, are going to be great. But please remember, you are blessed to work with some amazing educators and families at both schools, and they are counting on you. And I'm going to preach. It's essential that you remember to remind each other that you are here for the children. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to the kindergarten and first grade children, because they think the world is simply wonderful and an amazing adventure ahead. One of my happiest memories as a principal is to sit with a kindergartner or a first grader. I've said to many people, the happy bus is the kindergarten bus. So my wife, Laurie, and I now have grandchildren, one of them a kindergarten. Of course, she's gifted. So my Hsdsb retirement is intended to be available for those little ones, their parents, our parents, and the rest of our family. Now, if I can convince my wife to retire, it'll even be better, because she's saying no yet. But thank you, Hsdsb, from me and my family.
I wrote a little something for you. Can you just indulge me? I will try to keep it short. I know it's hard for me to keep something short, but I wrote it down so I wouldn't. I wanted to thank Dillard for his service over the past 40 years. He's been steadfast in his role as principal. Thank you for being there for the Hsdsb children. I had 2 children go through Central School, both with very different personalities and learning styles. Dillard appreciated both. I got a kick out of the sarcasm of one and the sweetness of the other. Dillard was always there to lend a calming tone to any situation, talked me off the parental ledge a few times, and I'm forever grateful for those conversations. I had the pleasure to work with Dillard during my time on PTSA. I'd like to personally thank him for his support during that time. I'd also like to thank him for encouraging me to stay on and take on the role of PTSA president. His confidence that I would do a good job was a determining factor in me taking on that role. When I was awarded the New Hampshire PTA Member of the Year, Dillard was there at the ceremony to cheer me on. That meant more than you know. I will remember Dillard. Oh, I'm going to cry. What happened? Okay. I will remember Dillard for being a great principal. I remember him for the smirk he always had when I said something a little blunt or colorful. And I'll remember him for his encouragement, not only to the students and staff of Hsdsb, but for myself as well. So thank you so much, Dillard.
Thank you. All right, I think
Okay, I'm good now. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
you can come on up, Mr. Knoll.
I'm going to cry too. Dillard has been such a great role model for me coming to Hampstead 7 years ago. And I'm telling you, all things Hampstead, it takes you a little bit to figure it out, but man, it's a very special place. And Dillard is just an icon, and he's someone I talk to every single day. So I'm going to miss him very much, but I know he's just a phone call away, and I'm very confident that Tara Lynn and I will make a good team. We've been working well for the past couple of years. So I'd like to just reiterate what Dillard said about the learning is alive and well here at Hampstead. Our kids are here. They're showing up every day. They're doing what they're asked to do. They're joyful. They're playing. They're involved in our carnival days that we had 2 last week. We had 1 today. We have another one on Thursday. Supposed to be some thunderstorms tomorrow, so we're doing the 8th grade one on Thursday, which is going to be amazing. A lot of surprises for our 8th graders. And it's, as Erin had said when she had visited a couple weeks ago, it doesn't feel weird. It feels like a normal day. They're greeting each other. The teachers are in the hallways. The learning is happening. We're challenging each other, and we're just very blessed to see each other every day. And the kids have been just I can't even tell you how kind and sweet and supportive they've been of the adults, as much as the adults have been there for the kids. And if you look at all the things that have been happening, you would really know that we've had to do so many different things. Last week we had the National Junior Honor Society. 8th graders were celebrated. We did that as a live ceremony and then taped it. And I don't think you say taped anymore. Am I showing my age? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And they, under the leadership of Mrs. Howard and the administrators, we honored them and talked about their 4 pillars of everyday scholarship, service, leadership, character, and citizenship. And they have guided us forward in the past year. We're very thankful for our 8th graders' leadership. And our 7th graders will be inducted into the National Junior Honor Society in September. So we're looking forward to that. Our transition, I think one of the things that we're very proud of at Hampstead is the transition pieces that we do for the rising hawks. Dr. Cheney coined that phrase, which sounds really good, instead of incoming 5th graders, but they're rising hawks. And we had a virtual parent night on June 1st, and Mrs. Karpinski, Mrs. Dower, our school nurse, Mrs. Benson, our athletic director, and myself had a live parent and question and answer. We did a presentation to let them know everything Hawks, but it was maybe 30 minutes, and it was well received. And ultimately, what I share with them is, I'm here most of the summer, so please, if your kids weren't able to do a walk over and walk through the building, I'm here all summer. I'm happy to receive them and just walk through the classrooms, walk through the buildings, see what it means to be a Hawk. So I encourage them to please just email me or give me a call, and we'll receive them all summer long. On this Friday, our HMS support services, which is school counselors and our social worker, will go to the central school and talk to every single grade level. Every single grade of our Rising Hawks, and talk to them about what it means coming up to the middle school. And we will also have some drawstring bags for them that have a 5th grade supply list, information about fall athletics, parent input sheet. Give us a little input on who your child is. So as we've been transitioning for months between the central school and middle school, just give us a little insight on who your child is, and some tips and information on how to support your child when they get here. Graduation is in 6 days. And the weather is looking good. That's all I want for the rest of my life, is to have good weather next Monday. It will be at 6 o'clock. You are all welcome to join us. We have sent out invitations to all the families. As I think Mr. Flynn had discussed with you, we have measured out the whole soccer field. We have staging. We have a sound crew coming in. We'll have 2 practices. We'll have seating. Teachers will be escorting families to the seating positions, and each student will have 2 guests. So parents, if they have any special requests, please just give me a call. We have a very large campus, and we're happy to help. Our sports updates. Track. We had track this spring, and our kids were out there working on their personal bests. There weren't any other teams to compete against, but our coaches still had our kids out there every day, Monday through Thursday, practicing, and parents were invited in. I think it was last week or the week before, and the kids got the cheers of our crowds for support and encouragement, and they did a fabulous job. Our golf team was comprised mainly of 6th graders. We had a successful season. They were able to pick up 3 wins this season, and the team players were mostly beginners and played in a competitive golf setting for the first time in their lives, but are looking forward to coming back and using this valuable experience to become the new Mitchelson? Who's the guy that just won the...
Mickelson?
Oh, thanks, Mr. Flynn, the golfer. Thank you. Softball. Our softball team had a really great season. They ended up the regular season 2-4-2, and they had a great season with many returning members. It was an exciting season. I love going to those games. It was fantastic. And last night, yesterday, was another wonderful game, but for our baseball team, and it was hot. It was hot. And we were just dripping over in Litchfield, and they won. They met the match with a semifinal game. They had a split with the regular season. They were leading 3-2. I'm sorry, that is the softball team. Sorry. There's a lot of words here from the athletic director that I'm not quite sure about. The final game was played Monday in Litchfield, but the extreme temperatures didn't stop the Hawks, and we had an 8-1 victory. Congratulations to our baseball team and their coach, Mr. Nick Arroyo. This is his first championship win. So congratulations to our baseball team. It was very, very exciting. PTSA kids, they, under the supervision of Mrs. Sarah Weiscarver, were able to volunteer over 110 hours even during these challenging times. They did some volunteer opportunities that included online superlatives for holiday events. They chalked the walk for the teachers coming in during Teacher Appreciation Week, planting seeds in the community garden, and we're so thankful for this group of young community leaders. Carnival Days, I mentioned that. Hawk Awards, we have our Hawk Awards coming up. Our staff recognizes students who go above and beyond in regards to respect, responsibility, and relationships. And that will be starting, we will have them starting this week. So it's been very busy. So we're cranking along here.
Thank you.
Any questions? You good?
Thank you, Ms. Knoll.
You're very welcome.
All right. Going to move on to our next agenda item on 8th grade Chromebooks.
So this is the time of year that I approach the school board asking for permission to donate Chromebooks to the 8th grade students. Chromebooks have, a shelf life, and we have experienced that heading into your 5th year. There's really no value within the system, and that's when we purchase our new ones for 5th graders. So each year the school board has donated the device to the outgoing 8th grader that they can use it for as long as it lasts. We wipe it out before they go out, and we send them along with the Chromebook. So looking for permission to donate the 8th grade devices to the outgoing students.
Is that typically done with a motion, or is Kathy? Yeah.
Yep.
So we looking for a motion to donate the Chromebooks to the outgoing 8th grade students?
So moved.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Mr. Giard, a second from Ms. Pellegrini. All that approve, raise your hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Thank
Appreciate that.
you. I know that Ms. Parnell, you did have a question.
Oh, I did have a question on that. I want to ask this because I know some of these
Oh, your daughter.
Chromebooks have been at the end of their life with all the Zoom from this year. If it's not particularly functional, can they give it to the school for recycling or something, or?
We will take anything that the student does not want.
Okay.
We will repurpose it for as long as it lasts. Students who have been given a brand new device this year for some reason or another will be repurposed an older version. So we'll collect the new one because we're going to retain that, and we'll repurpose one of the older versions to those students. As you can imagine, since we've been dealing with it all year, our inventory has been in an in-out model. Those guys have been first-class help desk sometimes this year with what they've managed with broken, dropped, cracked, charging, so forth and so on. So they have now wrapped up the end of the year, and they will be passing out a device to each 8th grader that has been gently used, not a brand new one. We will retain that. So,
Thank you.
if anyone doesn't want it, pass it in. We'll take it.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Thank you.
All right. So let's, next subject that we'll get into the agenda item of safe learning and student academic assessments. So not sure which one you want to go through first, Mr. Flynn?
We're going to start with safe learning. We'll go with that, and then because it's going to transition into that. I am ecstatic that this is the final safe learning plan that I feel like we'll be reporting out on, and I say that in a positive manner. I think I've said it repeatedly to the board here and to the public. It's quite crazy to think where we were this time last year and where we're standing this year, and what we've gone through, both structurally, professionally, what families have been through, what students have been through. I'm very proud of the Hsdsb community. It's not like this everywhere, and staff members that are watching or listening, I say it all the time, Hsd's not normal, and that's a compliment. The support we have from home, the opinions that people give us all the time, good, bad, or indifferent, we do listen to and we value throughout this process. I believe, and with Dr. Metzler, that we partnered with the board since last year. We stuck to a plan together, and that shows a lot. We did not agree at all the time, but we were able to work with each other on our difference of opinion, and I think we did what's best for the staff and the students throughout this year. Clearly, not everyone was happy about it, and it's on both sides of the argument, wherever you may fall. But at the end of the day, what happened was the teachers were able to deliver, and the students were able to learn. Now, is it obviously perfect? Absolutely not. But I think we did a stellar job in talking with people around the state. Not that it's a competition, but I think we did a pretty good job of having the least amount of disruptions, the least amount of cases. We could go down those stats if we needed to, and I don't think it's a valuable discussion anymore. But through this safe learning plan, everyone, the board, administration, staff, students, community, have stuck together, and we got through this year. If you can imagine, I'm telling you that we have, 5.5 days left? I lose track. 5.5 days. It's pretty remarkable. So we're actually going to be approaching you for one more change with the remaining 5.5 days. On Friday, Dr. Chan made the recommendation that schools no longer need to mandate masks outside for outside activity, outside ceremonies. He has noted to schools that with proper distancing, proper practices, all the same safe stuff, that masks are no longer required. So in talking with the school nurses, same story. Every time something new's come, we've approached our medical, we've approached the safe learning force, we've approached administration, and we feel comfortable with the remainder of the school year to not require outside masks. We're looking for the discussion of the board if you guys have questions, but we feel as though that with our practices and procedures in place that we can maintain a safe environment for the remainder of the school year.
Board members, you want to vote? I mean, you want to bring up a motion and then discuss? How do you?
I'll do a motion to remove masks during outside activities.
Yep. So outside.
Outside?
Yep.
Outside?
Yep.
Okay.
outside activities and events.
Second.
Yeah, I would second that, whoever.
All right, so any discussion? Anything?
I'd like to add one more thing.
Yeah.
The memberships, both memberships, teachers and support staff, they were the first ones to the table on Friday when the announcement was made. They were the first ones saying, can we do this? Please let us do it. And if you remember throughout these conversations we've had all year, it's always been in partnership with everybody. And so that was the discussion we had. I know, Mr. Smith and Dr. Metzler talked over the weekend, and we wanted to put it on the agenda. So I just wanted to echo that the staff was behind this 100%, which is very, it's a good thing. It's a great thing, actually. So, sorry I cut you off.
No, that's.
Mr. Chair, can I make a slight amendment to my motion to include the words effective immediately?
And so.
So the motion.
Do you have a?
So Megan seconded before. Are you okay?
Yep.
Okay.
We're good with that.
All right, so got a second discussion?
If I may.
Yeah.
I'm obviously glad to hear that we're taking this step. It's not an easy decision because, like you had mentioned, there's pros and cons to both sides of it, and there's a lot of passion to both sides of it. My question would be, I know the narrative has said that Hampstead's going to be its own entity. We're going to do our own thing. We're not going to follow the lead of others. But we have seen other school districts in neighboring towns also lift the mask mandate as far as students sitting down in classes. Mm-hmm. Has there been any consideration to that? Is there any consideration to that? I understand there's only 5.5 days left in school. And I understand that the last couple of days were extreme with the temperatures for the time of year.
Sure.
Has there been any discussion
Yeah, I'll be really, really blunt. I think everyone in this room would like to move to that optional, I'll call it optional mask. However, I've had conversations with the remaining time. There's other things that people aren't aware of that are going on within our building. So we have staff members who are unable to get vaccinated because of other things that are going on. We have students that are severely impacted. So my discussion with this team and with everyone is, we have a great model that's been working indoors. We've had 0 transmissions in our school. We've only had 2 significant contact tracing incidents this year. If we were to remove the mask mandate inside, it would then impact everything that we've had in place for this point, and it would disrupt the remainder of the year, meaning there would be staff that would be out now because of the switch. There would be students that wouldn't be able to finish the school year the way we have in place. So for those 5.5 days, I think everyone can handle masks indoors. And then after that, that's the discussion that Bob and I have already started to have. I've already had with my new district. That's the next step. There are districts, when you look around, we can all point to any of them, of who's doing what and where, and I can tell you the good and bad of all of them. And I think what we've done all year is maintain that we're going to make it about us, and this is a good plan for the remainder of the year.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like to add to that a bit. Didn't prepare anything for this one, but you said something there I wanted to bring up. Most people know that, for me, I've not been a fan of masks. Mike and I have, Mr. Flynn, you and I have had discussions. Board members, we've all had discussions here. We brought the kids back in March, April, with the understanding for parents and the kids coming back that we would have masks. That we made a choice at that point to say, do we keep kids remote, which I know nobody wanted. That was I'd say 95% plus. Okay, we do have some students and parents that are still remote, and we respect that. But we made a choice at that point to say, we want the kids back, we want to keep them safe, and you're going to have a mask on. If we change this model with 5 days left, sure, maybe 90% of people don't want the mask right now. I'm one of them. Probably the only time I'm wearing a mask, to be honest, is here. However, we need to think about more than ourselves, more than myself, my opinion. We have to look at the students that are here, and we're going to finish 5.5 days. We don't want to alienate and try to figure out how to support those students so they can't finish, go to the field days, go to whatever event. So this is the next step is to relieve the mask outdoors. We will talk about next year in just a few moments. 5.5 days, folks. That's what we're asking. Trust me, I would love to rip this thing off right now. We are there. We are so close to it. And for 5.5 days, I know for myself, I would love to make the motion right now. I would. I'm not sure who would second or who wouldn't, but I'm not going to do that, Mike. I'm not going to scare anybody. But I think for 5.5 days, we don't want to alienate the students that, there are students that are compromised right now. There are students getting their vaccines. There are teachers right now that haven't been able to get their vaccines for whatever reason. And we are going to have a plan to accompany them for next year. But for right now, we want to finish what we said. We told those students, those parents, we would finish this way. That's why. No other reason. It's not about this party or that party does or doesn't want to. It's because of the students. Like Mr. Collins said, we're here for the students and for their learning. This supports those children. So
I think it goes back to the partnership we've had all year. We've been calculated in everything we brought to the board, everything the board has brought to us. We've worked together, we've partnered, and I think, again, for the remainder of this year, keeping what we have inside has worked. We've worked well. The students are phenomenal. They're far more resilient than adults. Keep that in mind. So they've been all right. We've been able to manage it. We've put new things. We've adapted with them, and it'll be great. It really will be.
I'll even say, Mr. Flynn, to be honest, your conversations, about the field days. Personally, I wish the field days would have moved over a couple days so we could have them outside. I know that they get mask breaks. I know that, some of this, but for the future of the field days coming up, it's great to know, as long as this board approves it, they'll be without masks.
Yeah, and so I'm going to circle back on, I guess we can add this to safe learning is the last 2 days within the school, the schools. I want to commend, I said it to you on the phone with Dr. Metzler that I think this year has taught our profession to be far more adaptable than they ever been in their life. And we moved 4 classrooms on one day. We moved 2 another day. We had indoor recess, and everyone was flexible. And I think prior to what we've lived, it would be far more rigid. And what we were able to accomplish the last 2 days with facilities department, with custodials, with the teachers, they did a great job. And we had a plan over the weekend, and we were able to follow through and execute. So it's just another piece of this puzzle for this year where I emailed them over the weekend and none of them even blinked, saying, nope, we got it, we'll take care of it, and they have done a great job.
Can I just make a really quick comment on that? So obviously it was brutally hot during the field days, and even just with the kids, having the kids in class. So, there was a lot of people, a lot of schools having half days. I know we couldn't do some of those things because of Pinkerton and whatever. When we got a report back of what you guys were doing, I think we got that, was it Monday evening, I think?
Yep.
I thought it was great. But my only issue with that was that plan had to have been planned out prior to Monday. So it would have been good to be able to I'd like to maybe be able to do this in the future, to get that out to the parents and say, we understand that the schools are really hot. We understand that you're concerned about your kid being a child being in a classroom where the temperature is X. These are the steps we're taking. We're going to be doing this, and this. I mean, you don't have to be as specific as maybe some of the stuff that we got, but I think that would have eased some of the concern that parents had, especially about their kids in a hot classroom with a mask on. So I'm not criticizing.
If you don't mind, I would just like to follow up that, and that's anything you can work with future. To put it in perspective, this is what we do for a living, right? So you guys are entrusting us with your children every single day.
Absolutely.
So if it's hot, we have plans in place. In regards to what goes on, the data had showed that there was only 13 students that were pulled out because of heat. So 13 students out of 485 showed that everyone was trusting us, that we knew what we were going to do. The avenue about what you're suggesting, I don't disagree with. It's just, if we're rolling out all the plans, you're talking about safety and other protocols that are going to be in place where our students may or may not be. So those are some other things just to keep in mind. Sometimes revealing all of our inner workings kind of releases a little bit of a safety concern on our end. So they're going to know that 4 classrooms are going to be in the tent, or so it's
Right.
it's just part. Again, I'm only giving you our inside thought, but communication about don't worry, we got it. I can certainly understand.
Yeah, that's sort of where I was at with that, just because I think in that case it would be, we understand it's hot. We have things we're doing,
Yep.
to help make sure your child is comfortable, and those. I mean, we know that, but so I think this makes it worse.
Sure. Oh,
right? So
I don't
it's
disagree.
hot as it is,
Yep.
and then you have to have that as well. So I just think going forward, if we can sort of, and again, that's something we can talk to.
And the last thing I will always say is if you ever have a question, please contact the building administration and they will answer it. I have never known one of them to not answer a question. So please contact them. And they will tell you the who, the what, the why, and they will make sure and ensure that you feel safe sending your kid to our schools.
So that said, I do appreciate
Yeah.
all that you did moving them around. Like I said, I just think in some ways that could have squashed some concern. Is all.
Any, Ms. Brunel?
I just want to follow that up because I think Ms. Pellegrini raised some good points. I do want to point out how much positive feedback I heard about Central School. Whatever you did, your children thought it was the best day ever, apparently,
Yes,
yesterday.
I saw that too.
I don't know, Mrs. Denola, if you need more ice cream sandwiches or something, like let people know and we'll get that handed out.
Easy to bribe little ones.
But yeah, I mean, I think what Mr. Flynn said too is really important, and I think it speaks to a lot of the discussions that have been had about masks and where kids are and everything else. And this is, I think, a perspective you get maybe it's being on the board, maybe it's because I was on the safety committee. There's so much safety stuff involved every single day with what happens in our schools, and frankly, I wish it didn't have to be that so much focus was intensely on security. But yeah, I think getting a general information out is good, but where is that line becomes hard, especially where we are utilizing tents. We are utilizing being outside. And unfortunately, we just cannot put, the district just can't always put out, we're going to be able to move kids outside. We're going to be able to do this because it becomes safety
Just to
issue.
put a little bit more in perspective, it's the first time we've lived through hot days with masks, okay?
Sure.
It's the first time we've done it, and I think we did a pretty good job at it. Now we have a plan in place. Now parents will know if this happens again, we know what we're doing. It's living through those things multiple times to ensure or gain support from parents and community. So, yeah, I can understand there was doubt or questions or what's going to happen or it's all of that. But once we do it multiple times, then they'll see that we're pretty good at what we do. So, Mr. Thompson, I hope you're taking notes.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Unless there's any other comments, questions, we can take a vote. All approve the outdoor effective immediately for no mask? All right, all approved.
Okay, do you want to do your piece or academic? You want me to transition to academic, or are we good on that? Oh, we're
Good
good.
there.
We're good there.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So one thing we wanted to finish off under the Safe Learning Plan. There's been a lot of discussion about students and learning, and you guys have been very good at asking us for the hard data. And I'm here to tell you again that it's not finalized. So I told them that I would say that New Hampshire SAS is rolling out their raw data, and Mr. Thompson was starting to review Hollis's. It's not going to roll out until everyone's completed it, and that's the challenge that us and districts have had with students that are here and students that are at home. So once we come in, we finalize, we can lock it down, and that data starts to roll in. I already just finished at middle school yesterday. Dr. Cheney said that the central school has about 15 or 20 left. So they're going to have that data for you more specifically. But what I'm saying is I don't think we need to present it for what they're going to tell you now. It's going to go back to that understanding that the data teams are going to meet, administration's going to meet with the teachers, and they're going to discuss what they have in place for summer. I always mess it up. Summer what? Summer Academy, thank you. And they're going to discuss all that right now. So in regards to the data, I think if you end up having an August or September, typically, I think in the past we would be presenting data about New Hampshire stuff around September-ish, because that's when it becomes essentially official. So that's when that can really come out. But as Dr. Cheney mentioned, as a parent, you're going to be getting the reports at the end of the year anyways. Okay. So you're going to get an idea of where your student stands. And then the last piece is, this data is going to look different than it ever has. So I didn't feel that it was appropriate for us to stand up here, present stuff that we don't really feel comfortable or knowledgeable in yet. We went to that session today at 3. They're teaching us how to read it because it's different than it ever has been. So for you to start asking us questions, there would have been a lot of, we don't know, I don't know. So I said to them, let's not present data, let's do that in the fall, but present what we plan on this summer. So I'm going to have Dr. Cheney and Ms. Denola come on up to present the Summer Academy.
Hello again. So yes, we have been having conversations about what a summer academy could look like this summer to help students re-engage with school, to help students further their reading and their math learning that they may have missed out on due to many reasons this year. So what we've conceptualized is a 2-week program this summer at the end of August, the weeks of August 16th and 23rd. We'd be looking at 4 days a week and bringing in students for the morning portion of the day. What we're going to focus on is reading, math, and social emotional learning. In addition to social emotional learning, connections too between students and teachers, and even just getting reacquainted with the school again for some students who may have not been physically in the building for quite some time. We're working on, we've just sent out a survey to staff to see who might be interested and able to support this learning and this work. And we're hoping to invite students and families by July 10th. We're looking at about 15 students per grade level, depending on our staffing and that sort of information. And as far as targeting students, once we have more of that data, we're going to be looking at that to see which students need that boost in reading, which students need that boost in math. And recommendations from teachers and classwork will also guide our decision making on which students to invite to these programs. Yeah.
You pretty much covered it.
Okay. What questions do you have for us? Yeah.
First of all, I know this is all still being worked on, so I'm not going to hold anything against anyone who says, I don't know, that's fine. Yep. So you talked about students being invited. So is there going to be some piece of this that is from evaluation? Say if we have a student who seems to have dropped off a lot in reading, then that student is going to be invited, or is it invitation versus invitation and desire to attend kind of piece?
Both, exactly.
Both.
It's
Okay.
like
Good question.
they're being invited, and whether the parents or not are able to participate in, that's a family decision. But we would be looking at our data and looking at a percentage point where teachers and our data committees, like we're meeting June 11th to look at all the iReady, New Hampshire SAS, and the teacher recommendations as part of our RTI program anyways. Who are those kids who would benefit from this extra time with us and teachers during those 2 weeks in August? And we would structure, once we look at the data of what the need is, then we would structure the offerings for those 2 weeks.
But Caitlin, we are looking at a blend of some students being invited, but having some opportunities for families who are looking to send their students
Okay,
by
perfect.
choice. Yep.
Thank you.
And the hours, that would be again,
It would be 9 to 12.
9 to 12. Are we looking at offering transportation for students? Because some of those students may or may not, they may be home, they may be 8th grade or 7th graders home alone, wouldn't be able to get here because their parents are working. Are we looking at transportation for those 2 weeks?
We don't know.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
The answer is yes.
I'm hearing we're looking at
Okay,
transportation.
and
We're looking at that.
and again, the question, if we're not looking at it yet, maybe potential once we know more feedback, but are we offering any sort of extra care after for a half hour, because being flexible with parents that are working, just as a suggestion, I think that's something just to be considerate of.
Yeah, we'll write that down for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had both questions, so.
Okay. One of the questions that I would have, you mentioned that you're looking, I know it's going to be based on staffing. You said you were looking at about 15 students per grade. Is that total or per program? Because you might have 10 students in this grade that need reading and 10 students in this grade that need math. There could be an overlap there. Is it per program or per grade period?
We can be flexible with that number and the need once we have more information, but just as we were looking at our preliminary information and staffing, we thought that that might work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you for the input. I mean,
Yeah.
those are things that we need to look at. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Mike, is there anything else on assessment?
I just, with busing, masks need to stay on during busing. Just want to reiterate that, okay? All right. Now there's nothing else.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Next, we've got our new superintendent who starts July 1st up for a few discussion points. First one is the SAU 55 org chart.
So is it the one with blue in it or white in it? Is it the one with white in it or is it?
Yeah, the one with white to start. And no, so the other one. We'll challenge it to see, but I think it's the screen, like the physical screen.
You'll have better equipment next year.
Yep. Thank you.
New leadership.
Yeah, new leadership too.
And I can just X out of that.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I'd like to present what I consider to be a pretty historic moment, and that is the organizational leadership chart for the brand new SAU 55, the Hempstead School District. So what you see on the screen and you have in your board packet is our org chart, which has 15 leadership positions, formal leadership positions. And the role of these individuals is to ensure high-quality instruction and operational efficiency. So if we take a quick look at the chart, we'll see that we have at the top the Hempstead School Board, who has a single employee, and that is the Hempstead Superintendent. The Hempstead Superintendent has 5 direct reports, 3 of which I would call our district-level administration, and that is broken down into the Director of Student Services. And the Director of Student Services oversees all things students. The primary focus of the Director of Student Services is to have oversight over IDEA, so we're talking about students in special education. Also students with educational disabilities as defined under the Rehabilitation Act 504. That would also include students who might have an individual health plan, students covered under the federal law called McKinney-Vento, it's also known as the homeless law, students who might be involved with DCYF, court-placed in foster care. So all things students falls under the direction of the Director of Student Services. The Director of Student Services also has an Assistant Director of Student Services who helps in the execution of all things student services. Primarily, the role of the Assistant Director is to manage the out-of-district caseload. As we know, we do have some students that we simply cannot educate in district, and the role of the Assistant Director is to support their learning. I'll move over to the far right side. We have our Director of 21st Century Curriculum Assessment and Technology. You know, this person is responsible really for all things that have to do with teaching and learning, ensuring high-quality curriculum, reviewing assessment data, assisting the buildings with the implementation of assessment, ensuring that we have best practice in our curriculum and instruction. And that person also will oversee the work of the network administrator in terms of the technology piece. In the center, the third position that we would title as the district level administration is our Chief Financial Officer and Human Resources Director. And this individual primarily is focused on finance, but also a lot of the operational needs of the district, which would include overseeing the Director of Facilities, Accounting and Finance Administrator, the Enterprise Information System Payroll Administrator, Human Resources Administrator, and the Food Services Administrator. Now, you'll also notice on the org chart there are two additional positions that are overseen by the Superintendent of Schools, and that is the Hampstead Central School Principal and the Hampstead Middle School Principal. And each of these individuals has an assistant principal who helps them with the daily operational needs and instructional needs of the building. There's been a lot of conversation about what is new in our organizational chart, and if you'll give me a second, I'll put up a new graphic. So the positions that are listed here in yellow are new positions. So prior to FY22 or school year 21-22, those yellow positions were part of the SAU 55 that included the Timberland School District. Now with our new SAU, our single district SAU, Hampstead will now have their own superintendent, their own director or chief financial officer, human resources director, as well as the other staff members at the SAU, accounting and finance administrator, enterprise information system and payroll administrator, and human resources administrator. The positions that you see in blue have previously existed within the Hampstead School District. Now, it's also important to note all of these positions that are listed in blue, as well as the positions in yellow, are all budgeted for. We have not added any new positions that we didn't anticipate. These are all positions that have been budgeted for. Now, I'll open it up for any questions or comments that board members have, but I want to place a caveat here. It is June. I start this position on July 1. I am very much likely to come back to this board in the future and say, we need to change this. That maybe there's a position that needs to shift a column. Maybe there's some responsibilities. And I'll come back to the board with some of these directors so that they can present to you what it is the work that they're doing. But let's consider this org chart not just something we're going to put on a shelf. This is something that is going to be sort of a living document. It's vibrant. It's subject to change based upon our operational needs and the talents of the individuals bring into the organization. Because oftentimes, this organizational chart that doesn't have names on it, but sometimes the names, the talent that occupies that position can determine the direction that the org chart can take. So I just throw that out there just in case I come back in October and say, I think we might need to make a change. So at this time, I will entertain any questions or comments that the board might have.
Makes sense.
I'll say that, you and I have talked at great length about this. I appreciate putting it up there of what's new versus not. Especially this, traditionally these were the services we were getting already. As Mr. Dowd showed at the last meeting, we're paying a little bit less than what it was for the SAU services. So that's still in line with what we expected. No new positions as we expected at this point. This could change, so appreciate that caveat because I think that's something we'll be working with you on when you're officially here, as well as the new members of your leadership to evaluate this.
Yeah, and I also have to say, I really appreciate the administrative team, members of the administrative team. I sent them a draft, and they gave me some really great feedback. So I appreciate what you see here is not the work of a single individual. It's a work of members of this team putting their eyes on it and saying, well, have you thought about this? So I appreciate the assistance that folks are able to give, particularly Mr. Dowd.
All right. Anything else on the org chart from anyone before Ms. Thompson goes on to the next? All right. So if you want to talk about your entry plan?
Absolutely. So the transition of the new superintendent has begun. And I'm actually proud to say that today is my 9th visit to the Hampstead community. I've come to affirm all of the wonderful things that that brought me to this district. It truly is a tremendous community. I've had the opportunity to meet on several occasions with the administrative team. I visited almost every classroom at both the central school and here at the middle school. I'm hoping next week to round that out and get to the ones I haven't had a chance. I've seen some really amazing things occurring in classrooms. I sat in on a 7th grade poetry unit, where in June the teacher is interpreting with his students, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. It's just a really powerful lesson. Or classification of animals in an elementary school classroom. There's some really exciting things that are going on in this building. I also had the opportunity on the day where the Pinkerton Academy administrators came to talk to the 8th grade students and began that dialogue with them about transition and about the relationship that Hampstead has with Pinkerton Academy and ways that we can strengthen that relationship. I've also reached out to Dr. Powers, the headmaster of Pinkerton. We've set up a time for us to meet in July so that we can talk about college and career readiness and the skills that we need in our pre-K through 8 schools so our kids are ready for Pinkerton and they excel at really, really high levels. I've also made it a point to really attempt to get to know the community. I've volunteered my time with the food pantry to be able to help with the community garden and the Conservation Commission in their attempts to eradicate an invasive plant on town property. I've really come to know some of the community members, and I just can't tell you how excited I am to be here and all of the possibilities of the great work that we will do together as a community. With that said, I have a draft superintendent entry plan. It outlines the first 90 days of my superintendency beginning in July, and that will conclude on October 1st. I will come back here. I will submit to the board by October 15th a summary report of that entry plan. And really, the overall purpose of the plan is to formalize a process for me to build relationships and understand the needs of the community. And it centers around 4 goals and a series of activities. And so the 4 goals, number 1, to examine the current instructional practices within the Hampstead School District. Number 2, to develop and maintain open relationships with community members, parents, civic leaders, and local business community. 3, to gain a comprehensive understanding of the operational needs of the school district. And 4, to develop and enhance the capacity for organizational leadership within the Hampstead School District. So it's my goal. I know it's the intention of the board to hold a meeting in July. I will bring a finalized version of that plan that I'll present publicly and that we will make available to the general public so that they can see not only the goals, but some of the activities that will help to support those goals. And with that said, I will open it up to any questions that the board might have in regards to the superintendent entry plan.
Any questions, comments, Ms. Brown?
The only comment I wanted to make is it certainly has reached me, and I'm sure other board members, about what you've been doing to already outreach to our community and become involved. And I've heard some things that just spoke very highly of you, Mr. Thompson, and said he seems like he wants to be here. He really does want to be part of this community, and I think that is an important piece. So I just wanted to commend you on that because I know I've heard it. I'm sure all the other board members have heard it. So I just wanted to point it out and say thank you for working to be part of the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I've had my my sleeves rolled up and working in the dirt with Mr. Thompson over at the community garden for the food pantry, which was refreshing yourself, your wife, your children, as muddy as it was, and I'd say not everybody had the right shoes at times, but it was appreciative they were there, and they wanted to, and you were talking to every community member, like, hey, do you have kids who go to school? What do you think? Getting that feedback is definitely appreciated. So we're looking forward to more of that and just being involved in the community. I would, you alluded to it, that a July meeting, I don't know if we need to take a vote, Kathy, on, or just a consensus that we want to have a July meeting. But, I would say that not only do we want to have a July meeting so you can present that, I think it would be upon us as board members and the administration and to, invite the public to this room for that meeting to not only hear from you, but to take direct questions and have that interaction if possible. So I know we've individually discussed a date. I think we're all in consensus we could meet on July 5th for the purpose of Mr. Thompson providing a comprehensive 90-day plan with actions. There'll be some other items on that agenda, but primarily it will be dedicated for that. So Kathy, do we need to take a vote for that or by consensus?
Yep, just by consensus, yeah.
Everybody's good July 5th?
You said you had a time, was it a 7 p.m. meeting?
I think 7 p.m., but Mr. Thompson,
And
it's
that
up
will
to you.
be here?
Good? Okay. Yes, at the Hampstead Middle School, 7 p.m., July 5th, Tuesday.
6th.
July 6th. July 6th, sorry. You were right. July 6th, Tuesday. So, all right. I think that's it for the entry plan. We're going to talk now about the reopening plan, which I'd like to start that off, if you're all right with that, everyone. I've got a statement to read here. The board, we have talked individually, and then we've invited Mr. Thompson into the statement and let him know what we're going to talk about, and there's been discussions amongst members of the school district, hearing from parents. So here it goes. Isn't this about masks? So we're going to get right into it. That's the big thing with reopening plan. Everybody wants to know. So it's a little bit long statement, but I want to make sure there's been a lot of thoughtful discussion on this, a lot of input, and a lot of discussions around choice. So this past 18 months has been difficult for many. Our school district, along with others, have been faced with making very hard choices. Choices that have always been made to keep our schools, district students, employees, families, and guests safe. The thing about choices is that not everyone will always agree with that decision. However, we will learn from the choices we made and grow from those decisions. We will continue to strive to have a safe learning environment to keep everyone in the district safe. We will do this by listening to health officials, working with school district leaders, and putting a priority with parents and families within the district. While there are ongoing activities to plan out the reopening plan, which Mr. Thompson will speak to in a moment, we can communicate that we are doing everything to create a return to pre-pandemic learning plan. We will remain diligent in adhering to cleanliness within our facilities. We will be ensuring all ventilation is maintained for the utmost efficiency, and will remain flexible should any unforeseen circumstances arise. Our reopening plan is still being finalized. However, in working with district leaders and listening to our families and our students, we're able to communicate that next year our intent is to have masks be a family choice. This means that it will be optional for any student or employee at any point starting in the 2021-2022 school year. We will work with our amazing staff to ensure that anyone wearing a mask or anyone not wearing a mask feels comfortable doing so and is respected. There will be more communication over the coming months about the details of the reopening plan. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to board members, Superintendent Bob Thompson, or your school building principals, Maria Dinola and Dr. Terrell Cheney. Thank you. Ms. Thompson, I'll turn this over to you now.
Absolutely, thank you. So when we're talking about the reopening of our schools for the 21-22 school year, we have to keep in mind that the health, safety, and emotional well-being of our students and staff is absolutely paramount. Every decision that we make will keep those individuals in mind. And that's why it's important that this next phase is post-pandemic planning. That's really what we're going to move into. And that process has already started. I've been working with Mr. Flynn on the reopening plan that is due to the state at the end of June. That reopening plan really has two components. It's a list of memorializing what the school district has done throughout the course of the pandemic to keep kids safe. And it also summarizes some of the proactive measures that we will take for the 21-22 school year. And as Chairman Smith alluded to, we will include in that plan that masks will be optional. And our goal in talking with the administrative team and also conversations that I've now had with the association leadership is, we want to create the same conditions in our school that allow us to relax our COVID protocols. We talk about masks. It's more than masks. It is, one-way hallways. It is, reconfigured seating at lunch. It's distancing. And the idea is that we are going to loosen these. We're going to focus less on these COVID protocols, and we're going to shift our emphasis, as it has been all along, to talking about instructional needs of students as a result of the pandemic, talking about their social emotional well-being. We're going to exercise loose and tight controls, and I borrowed that term, from Rick Dufour. He talks about loose and tight controls. We will start the year with loosening up our pandemic response. If the data indicates we have cases, we have community spread, we tighten those controls. And one of the first questions that I asked the principals the other day when we met, if we were to loosen our COVID protocols and we had cases in the school, how quickly can we put those protocols back in place? And we can do it very quickly. So I'm confident that we're headed in the right direction. That's easy for us to say right now in June. We're going to see how the summer plays out. And really what we're going to do is we're going to focus on really two standards. One is going to be, what are the recommendations from the Department of Health and Human Services? Schools, even before the pandemic, have always followed the recommendations of the Department of Health and Human Services. As a school district, we will continue to do that. I was on the conference call the other day with Dr. Chan when they relaxed the outdoor mask policy. They also alluded to the fact that there's additional relaxing of guidelines that are coming in the next few weeks. And I'm confident that many of the school guidelines will be relaxed for next school year based upon the second standard, which is local and state data. We are trending in the right direction. We're confident that we will continue that way, and we want the 21-22 school year to be safe for students. But we are at a position where we are coming to an end of the pandemic, and we need to get back to that place that we were before March of 2020. And with that, I'll entertain any questions that board members might have.
That all sounds good to me. I guess I do, although I don't have any children myself that are in the age group where they cannot be vaccinated. Do we have concerns about mostly, I would say, the central school kids that cannot get vaccinated? Do we have any issues with that, or I don't know?
Well, and I think that is where you really look at your local data. And, if you look at it right now, you'll see that the number of overall cases, even with a large percentage, all of our 5 to 12-year-olds have not been vaccinated. Even that being the case, we're still seeing a significant decline in case numbers, including children who are not vaccinated. So it's definitely something that we'll have to be on guard for. But again, I think there's the opportunity to exercise those loose and tight controls.
Does the next year look like it has been, as far as, I'm just putting it out there, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, there will not be remote learning, there's no option for that, it's just, or do we not know that yet?
Well, as of right now, I would say that we're still waiting for some guidance from the Department of Education as to whether we have to offer remote learning, because that decision will be driven by the DOE. However, there's an indication that we're heading in the direction where we may not offer a remote option. However, what we have to be very clear about, there are immune-compromised children, there are children with disabilities that might prevent them from entering the physical school environment. And under the IDEA, we will be required to provide those students with a free and appropriate public education. which may mean for some individual students, we may have to look at an option that would involve remote learning. But that is specific to a very targeted and very small group of students that even in non-pandemic years, we still have to offer access to that population of students.
Thank you.
As far as the reopening plan, I just want to apologize if you said it. There is the mandate of submitting the reopening plan. What is that date again?
It's June 21st.
And we're on target for that.
We're definitely on target with that. Mike and I have been exchanging email communication back and forth in terms of the content of that, and we will finalize that before the deadline. And as I had indicated at the previous meeting, the South Central superintendents we're meeting on Friday because it is the hope to submit one plan to the state. Now, there's been some concern raised that a plan that we submit in June may look very different in August, and schools do have the ability to revise that plan as they see fit as the summer comes on. So I anticipate in the lead up to school making sure that I'm coming to the board and also communicating with families what that final plan is as we start to plan for the 21-22 school year.
Any other comments, questions? Reopening. All right. I know that we're looking forward to not only the reopening, but it goes back to Dr. Cheney and Mr. Nola talking about what are we going to do for our students, more importantly, for their learning in that summer camp of sorts. What the academy, the learning academy, and then based on the assessments that Mr. Flynn talked about, that reopening plan with. More importantly, how are we going to help those students? Where are we going to target those students and really help them propel? So
absolutely. And what's really exciting is these are conversations, when you talk about what are we going to do to help this population of kids, these are conversations that educators have all the time and have for years. It's not really, it's not a COVID thing, right? And it was exciting to sit with Dr. Cheney and Mrs. Denola to hear some of their ideas and some of the planning that they have to help these students. And it really felt like that this really wasn't about COVID. This was about, we always have students that need remediation, that need extension, that need opportunities for social emotional development in the summer. And we can use COVID as the reason why we're able to provide them those interventions. It's pretty exciting.
Yep, agreed. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to the next one, which is something that the board will be partnering with Mr. Thompson on. That's going to be a big initiative this coming summer into really the balance of the year. So I'd like Ms. Thompson, if you wouldn't mind just giving a little bit of update on what we're doing for the strategic plan.
Yep, absolutely. So the previous strategic plan for the Hampstead School District, the 5-year plan, expired in 2020, obviously with the world of COVID. The district did not enter into a new strategic plan. The time to do that is now. I have received 3 proposals from 3 different vendors. I have, I have 2 written proposals, and I'm waiting on a third. I have one from a group called Think Strategy, and another one from the New England School Development Council, Hsdsb. You may be aware of them. They're the group that gives us the enrollment projections every year. And again, I'm waiting on a third. So I'm in the process. I've met with the 3 vendors. I am in the process of evaluating those. What I like about the 3 proposals is they're all very different. Some offer you full service. Some offer you a combination of self-service and facilitation. But it is important to have a group come in and work with a steering committee to help develop that new 5-year plan. Now, what we will create is we will create a steering committee, which will be representative stakeholders. We'll have teachers, support staff, paraeducators, school counselors, administrators, community members, parents, student. It's important that we take a holistic view of what does the next 5 years look like for our district. What are our goals? What are our values? And what are our strategic priorities? And a big piece of the strategic planning work, which fits in nicely with the superintendent entry plan, is really getting feedback from our community about what it is that they value most about the Hampstead schools and the work that we need to do over the next 5 years. So I will have 3 proposals I will bring to the board with a recommendation for selection that will allow the board the opportunity to evaluate the 3 proposals and then make a decision as to how we want to move forward. I anticipate that work beginning in late July, early August. We can do some of the community work. In September, when the teachers return to school, that's when we can have the steering committee meet and we can involve teachers and school staff. And the target date, I'm going to say, is sometime around December for completion of that work. And with that, I'll entertain any questions that board members might have.
Well, of course, I've got a couple questions or commentary, but so I'll just kick it off, Ms. Thompson. Sounds good. I'm glad that we're getting 3 quotes, and we're going to evaluate based on the needs of, the district as far as, do we want them to do everything, get the Porsche, do we want the Mustang, do we want the Escort, whatever, so I think what I would suggest for the board for this one is we get the information from Mr. Thompson once he has it, along with his recommendation in writing to us. We can, at that point, take a look at it. We can discuss amongst ourselves, ask questions to Thompson, or even if we wish, reach out to those 3 companies or whatnot. And when we meet in July, for the latter half of that July 5th meeting, we talk about deciding on which company and the direction and start to set up the plan for that for the later August and, what expectations for the rest of the year. I think that's going to be a good thing for not only because of that meeting where we have it with Mr. Thompson on your entry plan. I think this strategic plan does a nice complementary to his overall initiatives. So that's my suggestion. If we're good with that, don't have to take a vote on any of that. It's just.
And I also wanted to mention too, we would want a representative for the board to serve on the steering committee as well.
Yep. So things to consider between now and then, and we'll talk about that on July 5th. Ms. Thompson, when do you think you'll be providing us with the 3 along with your recommendation?
I believe I could do that by the end of June.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on the strategic plan update? We're good there, so thank you for that. Doing that well ahead of you starting on July 1st, so thank you for the help.
Absolutely.
All right. I think we're good with Mr. Thompson for a little while.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
you.
it.
All right, next up, we're going to talk with Mr. Dowd on the fund balance retention. Mr. Dowd, I was not able to catch up to you very much before this. Would you like me to explain what the retained fund balance is to the community, or are you going to do that?
I would love it if you would try and explain it, or if you'd like to explain it.
Okay.
If you'd like me to explain it, I can.
I can explain from my perspective on this, as been here for a couple of years, and you'll come in and tell me what things were not correct. The way I look at this is, at the end of the year, we have a balance. We forecasted it. We've got a budget that we've been approved by the town. Every month we do a forecast of what we're going to use and what we're not going to use. And so at the end of that fiscal year, so at the end of 2020, 2021 fiscal year, we are going to have some sort of balance that we did not use. Per statute, we are allowed to keep a portion of that. Typically, we don't keep all of what we're allowed to. We decide as a board what we would keep as a percentage or as a dollar amount, and anything we decide not to keep goes back to the taxpayers, back to the town for their use to help, I'd say, reduce the taxes for the town. Is that?
Well done.
I didn't read the statutes. If anybody wants this, by all means, you can email me. We can send this out to you. Tells you, what we're allowed up to, et cetera. But I think that's where we want to start. And anything you want to add, Mr. Dowd?
So I will point out that in the past few years, we've gone up in our unencumbered fund balance retention, $300,000 in 18, $450,000 in 19, $577,000 in 2020. Which was a rather precise number because last year the board did vote to retain 2.5% of the assessment. So last year you did. Last year we had a lot of unknowns, particularly with COVID. So the board reasonably went with the full amount. I'm not sure where the board would be on that this year, but we do have, we've identified what our biggest risk is, I think, for next year, which could be COVID again. And we have some grant money really that we can utilize to help fill in some of the gaps that may occur. So I don't know that we need to have 577,000. This needs to be revoted every year. This is not like the fund balance, the capital reserve fund, where it builds up every year. If you don't vote on anything, the entire amount is released back to the taxpayers. So every year you have to come in and revote some amount.
Right.
But I would prefer some amount.
Right.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, this time we can, so
Yeah.
thank you
Good.
for speaking into the mic.
I'm glad.
All right. I don't know, any questions about the fund itself before we talk about dollar amounts, considerations for next year, et cetera? Anything for Mr. Dowd on that?
I'll point out one thing as you begin your discussion. We have put on the taxpayers a burden this year, unlike any that we've put in the past. Typically, we've had a request from the taxpayers to allow us to put into capital reserve a certain amount, perhaps 400,000. This year, we're asking them for 500,000, which they've allowed us to have, for the 60s wing renovation project. We also have 190,000 encumbered from the current year budget, which means that's money that's automatically not going back to the taxpayers.
Right.
If you put those two numbers together, you're at about 690,000. So already we're asking for, we're going to be utilizing more from, that we won't be returning to the taxpayers, that will not become part of our unencumbered fund balance. So we won't have that available to return to the taxpayers. If you maintain the level at 577,000, that's a big ask for our taxpayers.
Agreed.
So I'll just bring that to your attention. And any questions?
No, I think that's a good point. To be, fiscally conservative, being conscientious of the taxpayers of what we've asked for them for the 60s wing. I think that's very, valid. So I'm glad you're bringing that up, as that's important to keep in mind. I think the one thing on my mind is we have, even though the 500,000 that we talked about, we have essentially depleted our capital reserve to take care of the 60s wing, which we want. The town overwhelmingly voted yes for. So this depletes our capital reserve. We're going to start resetting that again, I would assume, for next year. So my only question, and I did not ask Jeff about this ahead of time, but Jeff, I just have a question for you. If you see anything as of right now in capital needs that you weren't forecasting for the budgetary needs to ensure that we do have it covered for facilities?
Honestly, probably a small section of roof. That's about it.
A small section of?
Roof.
Roof, okay.
That's really all
Okay, so for a small section of roof, that's it, so I appreciate that. From my standpoint, I think we have a lot of risk that's being averted because we have the ESSER funding, so we have a lot covered, so I agree. In my standpoint right now, we're going to talk about this more and ask the board members. My standpoint on this is we can go back to some sort of reduced number, in my opinion, but open this up for discussion.
Bear in mind, the quintessential example of use of funds under this contingency fund, under this retained fund balance is, for example, a snow load, an unanticipated snow load on a roof at a school causing, without students in the building, causing a roof to collapse, for example. This is the type of unanticipated expenditure that we would be withholding the funds for.
Right.
So, we do have the normal needs, but we have the things that we don't know.
Thank you.
So this past year, the 2.5, the full 2.5% was retained.
Mhm.
What is the typical percentage when you're not in a pandemic?
We've built up to the 2.5%, and I will note that the statute has actually changed a bit. 5% is allowed. Our school district has never gone above 2.5%, and we only did 2.5% one year. We never have done a percentage before. We've looked and said it's 200,000,
Okay.
it's 300,000, it's 450,000, and last year we said, you know what, you all said, let's take the maximum,
Right.
2.5%, just 1 year.
I can give a suggestion if there's no commentary, but I just want to see if there's any questions, any comments on this.
No, I guess I would say I would lean more towards a percentage rather than a flat amount. And so I don't know what percentage I would throw out there, but it wouldn't be 2.5%.
Just piggyback on that, Megan. So that 619,000 would be 5%. Is that correct, or is the 619,000 2.5%?
2.5%.
Okay.
But if you were to look at it and say, well, if I wanted to do 1.25%, that would simply be 1/2 of 619, and you could just pick the number that's 1/2 of 619 and make that the number, or a number that's higher or lower.
So I'm going to oppose you, Megan. I'd rather just go dollar amount because math, just not me right now. But that's I think a dollar amount for myself, is what I would propose.
I mean, I'll start the conversation and say 300,000, but I'm totally open to anything else. I just want to start a number discussion. That puts us about 1%. It's a little bit, not exactly 1%, but, so, I don't know. That's my first suggestion. We can go from there.
I was thinking 1.25. Just go halfway, give half back to the taxpayers, half for us. Halfway, 1.5, 1.25% is $309,500. I would go along with Caitlin and just say a flat rate of 300,000. Go back to what we were at in 2018, and give as much back to the community as we can.
So my suggestion was going to be lower at 200,000 because of what we are already asking for, part of the 60s wing, and because typically we would keep this in case of emergencies, and we do have ESSER funding. So my suggestion would be lower than that because we've already asked for a lot for this year coming up with 60s wing, and we have ESSERs to cover us. So that's where my suggestion was going to be lower than that.
Can I ask a clarifying question about ESSER? Because I think we talked about this last meeting, about the guidelines of what it can be used for. And I believe I recall that this is loosening up for the fourth round, whatever. So would you anticipate, Mr. Dow, that there's any issue if we were to have, say, a roof collapse, let's go with that exceeded 200 or 300, can we use ESSER funding for that or not?
Maybe for a portion of it.
Okay.
But it's a real tough sell that you'd like to make an improvement, right, on a building that is a shell or doesn't exist. If you have a roof that's collapsed.
Right. That would be my only concern, where we are also depleting capital reserve. I'm not too tied to 200 or 300. I just want to have that as part of the conversation. We're at a little bit of a strange point where we don't really have a kind of backup fund. That being said, we do fund our schools well. I'm not totally concerned that we would have to leave a collapsed roof in place, but just as part of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I think I've said to David several times is, we have to remember that we're going to be our own SAU. We're footing the bill for everything. So I would like to definitely consider the taxpayers in what we do, in every choice we make, really. If something like that happened, I mean, would insurance cover?
We don't have insurance. We are a member of a risk management pool, which would help to offset. And of course, I'm sure they'd want to take their depreciation, and you can imagine what depreciation is on a 40-year-old building. But bear in mind that a portion of our budget next year that we have for facilities, as part of that warrant, is dedicated to the 60s wing renovation. So the money that we would normally be able to fall back on, maybe, and we always try and hold off on, we have major projects, and the best time to do them is during the summer. But we try and hold off a bit until the end of the year just to make sure we don't have a situation like that, so that we do have some funding, and then we can always encumber into the next year. But this year, 200,000 wouldn't necessarily be enough. 300,000 wouldn't be enough. 400,000 wouldn't be enough from a business office risk management perspective. But then we have got to be respectful of the voters and of the taxpayers. So I'll put that out there, and what level of risk are we willing to assume? And if that's 200,000, will, between our risk policies that we have in place, the risk management policies that we have in place, perhaps we'll be okay.
So I'll just, because I think we could, talk about the different numbers all day long. I'll say, in the spirit of, this board is working really well together and getting to, the right for the students, the community, et cetera, split the difference. I'd like to make a motion for retaining $250,000 on the retained fund balance for fiscal year 2021, 2022.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I would ask that that motion just reflect that it would be the 6/30/2021 fund balance retention.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. All approved, raise your hand. All right. All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Dowd.
Thank you.
All right. Let me get back to my notes here. No, that one. All right. So the next one is summer hiring delegate. And let me make sure I get to my notes. All right. So this one right here, we have a provision of our policy, GCF, that states that the school board shall elect one board member to act on personal matters while the board is not in session. Ratification of that one member's action shall then be presented to the full board at the first board meeting of the school year. Consensus on the protocol for this policy should be given. So we're going to be looking for a member who wants to be the summer hiring delegate.
I'll do it.
Got it? All right.
Only because I know it's usually not. Very labor intensive.
All right. So looking for a motion here designating Caitlin Parnell as the board member who is authorized to act on personal matters while the board is not in session during the summer months.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, Mr. Motion, who's that?
Sorry,
Thank you,
Ms. Malcolm is seconding it.
thank you.
Any discussion? All approved?
Thank you.
All right. Now we're rocking. We're moving. Suspension authorization. This is something we do every year. Annual board authorization for superintendent to suspend students beyond 10 days is outlined in RSA 193.13. So for this one, I'm looking for a sample for a motion to authorize the superintendent and his designee to continue the suspension of a student for a period in excess of 10 school days as provided for in RSA 193:13B.
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All right. Discussion? Sorry about that, Kathy.
That's okay. I don't see lips moving.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear women talking that way. I don't know what it is.
It was Jason. So, any discussion on this? I know this, we'll of course always be working with Mr. Thompson on this type of issues. Hopefully they do not arise, but when they do, if they do, we'll work with Mr. Thompson on this as needed. So, all approved, raise your hand. Thank you. Let's see. This next one, let me just move some paperwork around. There we go. All right, so this one is around the liaison assignments. So again, this is around what we've decided who's going to do what. I will read off just for the public who's the liaison for which, and make sure that we are good and if there's any questions. Facilities, I will continue there. Special needs, Megan, you'll be on that. Technology is Jason. Policy committee is Caitlin and Jason. Communication committee, again, Jason Gerard. HMS for regular education curriculum is Aaron. HCS is Caitlin. Vouchers is Aaron. Safety committee is Caitlin. And the Hsdsb delegate is Megan Malcolm. So that is who is the board member to each of the assignments. And I don't think we need to take a vote for this. It's just a consensus, Kathy?
Well, it's adopted, so you should adopt it.
Oh, it is, okay. So I'll be looking for a motion to adopt what I just read for liaison assignments for 2021, 2022 Hampstead School Board.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
All approved? The one that should have said this during discussion, but the one thing we'll remind is we will talk about this as the year goes on, but we do want to write up some responsibilities for this that'll carry with these assignments going forward. All right. All right, so this next one is on the bidding requirements. This is on policy DJE. This is one that Mr. Dowd had mentioned earlier in the last meeting. I would like Mr. Dowd just to give a quick overview of this to the board members and some recommendations based on last discussion and what you've sent to us.
Thank you. And you have a copy of policy DJE in your packets. The policy specifies that for, and this is for bidding requirements, policy specifies that for contracts and single items priced over $10,000 and purchases with a combination priced over $20,000 shall be, when feasible, on at least 3 competitive bids. As a general rule, purchases of $1,000 or more per item will require at least 3 competitive documented quotes from the open market. So what we're running into as a district right now, and it's been existing for a while, is that the numbers are very low for our multiple quote threshold of $1,000 or more per item, and our bidding requirements for $10,000 and $20,000 when in aggregate are quite low as well. And this policy has been a hot policy to be updated, revised, looked at for a while. However, the board really had to take the last year to make sure that all of our policies were in line for a single district SAU. And so I think you'll be looking maybe at some of those policies. You looked at some of those policies at the last meeting. So this policy we have not yet put forward. However, with the different things that come up over the summer, especially in relation to the construction project, we just may not have the time to be able to go and get quotes, or I should say bids, for items over $10,000 or $20,000 in aggregate. And as an example, I've had a problem this week where we have a quote, and I am of over $10,000. I'm unable to get other companies to quote. Not to bid, just to quote. So this is a policy that's a little bit outdated, and I'd like the spirit of the policy to stay in effect. However, I would say that for items 10,000 individually or 20,000 in aggregate, that those be subject to multiple quotes, and that our bid requirement threshold be at least $25,000. I think that this is a policy that we'll end up updating in the fall. However, if the board would care to take action to waive the policy, I would take guidance from the board in an informal way to pilot, if you will, a new set of limits. Over the summer, we'll then have a little bit more guidance, a little bit more workable guidance to be able to put into a final policy update in the fall. Okay. But I am a little bit concerned, particularly because the board's not meeting. I'm having a hard time right now simply getting quotes. I'm not going to be able to get bids. And if something comes up, if I need a classroom furniture or I need an item for a classroom that needs to go out to bid, I'm concerned that I may not have the time to do that, and I can't have that 60s wing project held up. So allowing the bid policy to be waived, but allowing for informal guidance of $10,000 on individual purchases, $20,000 in aggregate, requiring multiple quotes, and lifting the threshold to $25,000 for bids would be helpful. And it wouldn't necessarily be changing the policy, it would be waiving the policy and providing guidance to my office that that's what you'd like. I don't want to get into a situation that we get jammed up and can't get the work completed at the central school because of our own policies. So, and most districts have policies that are far higher than this. Right. Our own federal funds policy is higher than this. And again, this is just a policy that we've dealt with, hasn't been a priority. We've had priorities. You've looked at those, and so now we're just looking to patch it, if you will, for the summer.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is this below what the town's guidance is for their own, or where is that?
Yes. Mr. Mackey may actually know what the town guidance is.
Yeah, they're, to get, to need the 3 quotes, theirs, I believe, is $7,500.
Right.
Not 100% sure what their, one is.
Yep.
I think it's 5,000, based on what I've had to do. It's about 5,000.
So it's substantially more than $1,000 is what we're going
I
at.
know for a fact buildings and grounds cemeteries, their department and highway as well, anything under 7,500, they can just go.
Okay.
Anything over 7,500, they need 3 quotes for it. Because it did just get bumped up.
Okay.
Bumped up several times in the past few years.
That may have happened since I was there. so.
They may have just bumped it up more recently, so.
And the reality of it is we're burning vendors out who we'd like to do business with and who would like to do business with our district, but they're saying, look at, you're asking me for.
Okay.
Yeah,
So really what you're looking for is a waiving of the policy and to increase it to $25,000 per item.
For bid, yeah.
For bid, yes. Okay. So if anybody wants to make that motion. Caitlin?
I'll make the motion.
Can I just clarify? You're asking to waive the whole policy, or just asking to waive the $1,000 quote requirement and then increase the threshold for bidding to 25,000? Is that what I understand what you're saying?
I'm okay with either. The policy is useful to have in place. It's the dollar amounts that
I
are,
don't know if you want to waive the whole policy. I think if there's a part of the policy that you
Yes.
want to waive, right?
yep.
I think
So
that's
waiving,
what it was.
Yeah, waiving the policy's line of the 1,000 to increase
Okay.
it.
I couldn't hear all of it. Thank you.
I thought it was loud enough, Kathy.
Yeah.
Should I get louder?
The $1,000 provision for quotes, yeah,
Yep.
and increasing threshold, bid threshold.
And is this a temporary to a certain date?
Yeah, I think that's a good, if you want to make an addendum to the motion.
So if the policy committee needs to look at it, we need to have this in place until at least September. And in reality, now, it could be a waive second read policy, but I would say policy committee, I'm going to take a guess, won't meet before mid-September, because if we're starting school the 7th, so could we do waiving it through October 1st?
I think that's
And if we're not there by that point, we could
Yeah.
extend it.
Revisit it, yeah. Okay, so I've got waive the $1,000 provision for quotes and increasing the bid threshold to $25,000 until October 1st, 2021, right?
All right.
Okay, and did you have a motion, and who's,
We have a motion
I'm
for
going
Ms.
to make the
Parnell.
motion, yes.
okay.
Second? Anyone? I'll second. Any discussion? All right, and I'll approve.
Great.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Dowd. Thank you, everybody. Next one is policies first reading. Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. I just want to make sure. This is on first reading for the CBI and CBIR.
Right, because at the last board meeting, you had postponed those to have your work session today to discuss those. If you finalize any portion of those, you can address those now.
Okay, so I'll make a statement on those, and won't be a motion tonight on either one. So the board had a working meeting from 6 to 7-ish on the policy CBI and procedure CBIR, which is dealing with the superintendent's evaluation. We are going to be focusing on this over the summer with some additional working meetings that we are going to address let's say a new evaluation. We're looking at what we've learned from the SAU 55 evaluation. We're taking input from Mr. Thompson with his SAU 41 evaluation, as well as input from others, and we will be creating a new policy and procedure. We expect to have a policy and procedure working document coming into the September timeframe. At that point, we will work with Mr. Thompson and his staff on finalizing that, as we want them to be part of this as well. So we expect that policy, we're going to put a target date of completing it by around October 1st. The board will hand it off to Mr. Thompson and to the staff. What we're targeting is late summer, so then gives the staff a month to review, provide input, feedback, and we'll incorporate it for a finalized, so everybody's on the same page. for what the superintendent's goals are, how he's being measured, and it aligns to his 90-day plan, which is due October 1st completion. So we're looking to do this right holistically and quality over quantity. So, board members, anything in addition you'd like to add? All right. So no policies that we're coming into. We're going to go around for board comments and correspondence. So I'll start to my left, Ms. Malcolm.
I don't think I have anything.
Okay.
I don't have a whole lot. I did review the voucher, so I just want to thank you, Jeff, for being patient with all my questions, my big list of questions. I appreciate you getting back to me quickly, and thank you for that.
I'm all set.
I too I attended Pinkerton's senior award night on Sunday night and the graduation last night for the class of 2021 at Pinkerton. And I kind of want to put out there, I really want to commend Pinkerton for what they were able to put together, especially for this senior class that has lost out on so much. They were able to graduate 700 plus kids altogether. It was different. It was the first time in 11 years it's been done on campus. It was out on the football field at night. They even had to do some last minute juggling for the heat to start it later. But I, as a parent, as a board member, as a community member, I really, really appreciated the work that they put in to make that happen for those kids, to have it be one big ceremony, and to have at least some people from every family able to attend. I know it was hard to narrow it to 4 tickets per student, but I just really want to send our thanks to Pinkerton for making that happen for them.
Thank you. I was there also. I may have shed more tears than Ms. Parnell, but definitely a great night at the Pinkerton graduation. And besides on a personal level that it was great, I also thought it was worth mentioning there was a lot of Hampstead students that received either awards or accolades or were part of the singing of the national anthem. For a small school, 105 there, that we had such a presence. I think it was really a great sign of our community and our school system, our parents. You heard tonight where we had the class president for 4 years, and it was a rally for 4 more years for him. So we're doing something great here. We're going to continue to do something great and build upon what we've done over the last number of years. And just a big accolade to the parents again and students at Pinkerton. The only other business or the other correspondence is actually I was able to attend. It was virtual, but the spring Pinkerton Sending Schools meeting, where it was good to hear what the other districts are doing. Ours was about change and adapting to change. That was kind of the message that I provided for Hampstead because of all the changes going on with administration, with just the everything we're getting ready for reopening plan, our 60s wing, and a lot more. So it was good to hear the other districts. They're all in the same boat. They're all talking a lot about that. One big thing I heard that was really interesting to hear, and I would just say any parents that are interested, please contact Pinkerton Academy, your advisors, et cetera, which is they're going to continue to try out a virtual academy in the fall. They're going to, and we didn't get a lot of the details, but we got enough to be dangerous, I guess. There's a little over 40 students as of right now that have requested to partake in this virtual academy. So they'll be doing their online classes. We didn't go into a lot of detail at that meeting, but they did say if there's any questions to contact your counselor, your advisor, that they can give you more details of what that looks like. So that was 40 students as of their, let's call it their sophomore through senior class for next year. I'm not sure about the freshmen that are coming in, but if there's any interest, parents, please communicate to Pinkerton Academy and they can give you more information. That's all I've got for mine. We're going to move on to consent agenda with Mr. Flynn.
Thank you.
Okay, this is another sad week for Hempstead School District. I'm here to report 2 more resignations that are moving on in their career. First is Mrs. Kretschmer. She's been here for 19 years, invested in this district, has done a phenomenal job, as you can note in her letter to you guys. But I'm asking for a motion to accept Kate Kretschmer's resignation as an HCS elementary teacher.
I'll go ahead and make that motion with extreme regret and gratitude for all her service and everything she's done for us.
I'll second that with regret as well.
So just can't say enough about Mrs. Kretschmer. Just good luck, and we really appreciate everything you've done for individual families and students. You've been a tremendous asset in this town, and many families, including myself, have looked up to you. So we appreciate it, and we wish you well with your new position and understanding why you're making that. So.
I share that sentiment as well. Both of my children had Mrs. Kretschmer, and I just loved her. She was great. She was really, in tune with the kids, and it was a pleasure to have her teach my children and the children of Hampstead. So I was sad to see that, but happy for her.
Anyone else? All right, all approved.
Thank you. I kept them separate for a reason. I think each one of them deserve their own moment. Our next one is another, I'll call legend in Hampstead. Has impacted multiple students in many varieties, not just with his teaching. So I am presenting and asking for a motion to accept Mr. Fisher's resignation as HMS music teacher.
I'll make the motion with extreme regret, which I don't think is enough. I know we need a second, but I just want to say, since Mr. Fisher came, I think a lot of it, maybe not a lot of us, but I have always thought as long as we had him, we would be extremely lucky. I witnessed the change the first year Kevin came. I had a child here, and what Kevin has done for the music program here, for the choral program, has continued and built so much excellence into this program. It has brought kids in who I don't think ever would have considered being a part of the music program. And I think he has been able to instill in kids this confidence in something that they may never have looked at before. I've been lucky enough to have 3 children participate in the musicals and in chorus, and I honestly feel, from growing up in town, from having children here, from being on the school board, we have amazing educators all across our district. Kevin is something extremely special, and we've just been lucky to have him as long as we have. I just can't speak to it as a parent of children within the theater program in particular. He builds these kids up so much, and it is so important, especially at a middle school level, to have someone who you feel like believes in you. And we have lots of teachers who do that, but I especially feel like sometimes kids in the arts need that little extra encouragement. And my heart broke a little bit knowing that this was coming, but at the same time, he's just an amazing educator. And I know we're all gonna, there's plenty of us who will say this, but I cannot thank him enough for what he has done, not just for my children, but for a large portion of our kids as a district. Look at how many of our kids that, David just pointed out at graduation, that we had so many talented children there. And for a small district to send so many kids who stay involved in the arts at Pinkerton and are standouts. And even those who aren't standouts are learning these great tools and this love of music, which is, we know, is so important in development and brain function. So I know I'm going on and on, but while my heart breaks, I am so happy for Mr. Fisher. And I know he will continue to do great things. Sorry, that was long-winded.
No, it's okay. I'll second that, but I need to say something really quick as well. I have been thinking about this one, and I think when you look back, or most people, they look back on their school days, they have a lot of teachers that have been special to them, but there's always one that really just stands out, and I think Mr. Fisher has been that for so many kids. And I think that he has, with his energy and his enthusiasm, he has brought out a passion in kids that is just remarkable. I think that he even helps those kids that are not necessarily into singing and music and all that to find a passion. And I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it with such enthusiasm and happiness, but he is one in a million. He's a phenomenal human being, and I would love to say no, but that would be super selfish. And I know that he's going to be enriching other students and other families, and I'm jealous of them. And I wish him all the best. He always has a home here. I'm not crying yet.
I can't really, it's, I've talked to Kevin, Mr. Fisher already. He knows how I feel. I'll just say his name's Fish, and I just said to him, big fish, little pond. He's a star, and he's going to be great, and I look forward to hearing from him and talking to him more in the future and seeing what he does for other districts. And selfishly, wish that he was doing that more for our district, but it's time. It's good. So, I don't even think we got a second. We started talking.
I seconded it,
Oh, sorry.
and then I blurted.
All right, so all approve? All right, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Mike?
Yeah, executive director report, if you don't mind.
Yep.
In working with Dr. Metzler, we wanted to compliment Officer Winter, getting thrown in here in the middle of a school year during a pandemic. He's definitely learning what goes on a day-to-day basis, and he's done a phenomenal job during the day with our kids at both buildings, managing traffic, as we've mentioned, and certainly supporting administration as we go through things. So I know Dr. Metzler wanted me to send the well wishes along and say thank you for everything that you've been doing. So there's a person in this room that's going to probably kill me. But as I get to hijack the mic here for the final time, there's a person in this room that, believe it or not, probably runs both districts. And without her, I'm not sure where either one of the districts would be. And that is an understatement. And there's someone in this room that does not know how to accept compliments. So I'm not going to go into too much, but as a lot of us are here wrapping up our time, this person has helped me personally, professionally. She's helped me grow. She helped me through my interview process. She's helped me with my children, helped me with my wife. She has been so many things to so many people in this district. I just can't thank you enough. I know everyone here can't thank you enough. I know everyone there can't thank you enough. So thank you to the unnamed person in this room named Kathy Belcher. So thank you.
Who retired, Michael, a year ago.
A year ago, yeah.
Just for the record.
So thank you.
She's still making an impact.
So embarrassed.
I know.
You love it.
I didn't buy you a present or anything, so just use words. All right. There's another thing that I'd like to acknowledge in that this job is a thankless business. And I know Dave will laugh at me when I say we sign up for it, and that's what we do. But there's a man that served this town for 9 years, and good, bad, or indifferent, when you have a level of consistency of that time, and we've talked about it earlier, whether you agree or disagree, it helps districts, okay? And what Dr. Metzler has done, more specifically for Hampstead, we've done great things. This district has done great things. We have made great gains. We have changed practices and procedures and operations. And to have someone that expects greatness out of everyone at every moment of the day certainly makes everyone better. And I know he would also probably not be happy that I'm singing his praises, but he raised his daughters here. His daughters are my babysitters because they are great kids. They have made an impact in this community. He has a coaching tree of great length within this district. He has now 3 directors and executive directors that are either superintendents and assistant superintendents. He has 2 assistant principals that are principals around the state. He has several assistant principals that became principals within the district. He has pushed a lot of us hard, and we've achieved great things because of that. Consistency is important, and I'll laugh, and I think he'd laugh with me, is there's one thing about him is he's consistent, right? And there was never any doubt as we became aware of how things should and what we were expected to do, and that makes great things occur. So I just can't thank him enough for where I'm now moving towards. I know a lot of other people have said the same thing, that he has done great things for the amount of time that he's been here. I mean, if you look at the job board, there's superintendent positions open everywhere. They don't last long. Average is 3 years, honestly. And for people to have him, I can guarantee that they have all been taken care of. His motto is family first, no matter what it was, who you were, or what you were about. He made sure he took care of staff, students, and really put his heart into everybody. So I just wanted to thank him, not just selfishly for myself, but I know for a lot of us who behind the scenes have appreciated him and his support for us. So thank you, Dr. Metzler, for all your time. I really do appreciate it. Last is, I guess it's my thank you. I still mad at Caitlin for that night when I told her I didn't want it to be about me, and somehow you made it a discussion. So these past 2 years, I think have been challenging. We've said it for everybody, but just my soapbox spiel real quick is thank you to Hampstead, thank you to you guys. My wife was working 78 hours a week during the pandemic at the hospital. I was working with my kids at home, and this group supported me to no end. I'd be in a meeting, and my 5th grader would come in and need help with math, or Ellie needed to be fed as a 6-year-old. Parenting, working, they supported me every second of the way. The staff, when I didn't know how to teach 5th grade math teacher was like, hey, I'll help you out at home with my kids. So the way the community supported me through this year has been something that I don't have appropriate words. It means a lot to me and my wife. So thank you for that. I'm going to miss this place. It wore on me really quick. But I know that guy is going to do a great job. I know you guys care about the kids, and I know everyone here, including the staff, is all in every day. And that's a big deal, to have everyone rowing in the same direction. So thank you to Hampstead. Thank you to everyone that has been a part of my life these past 9, 10, feels like 11 years. I don't know what it is anymore. But it's not goodbye. I refuse to say it. It's see you later. And I hope our paths cross again. So thank you guys very much.
Mike, just a couple things. First thing you spoke, just want to say thank you to Dr. Metzler for the number of years serving both districts. It's hard to, manage two districts, some, I don't know how many thousand, 4,500 students, hundreds of staff members. Not always the easiest job, not always the most thanked job, but we do appreciate the effort, the time. I know as a board member, he's been available to me, to others. He'll return calls, texts, et cetera, and be there for, and especially for his staff, et cetera. So we want to say thank you for the many years of service here. For you, Mike, you're right. You said you signed up for this. So we appreciate you. We know you're kind of like what we talked about with Kevin Fisher, big fish, in a little pond. We're expecting a superintendent of the year from you. No pressure. But we wish you the best. And we did get you a little something. Got you two little somethings. All right. First is just a little gift card here for you. But Megan recommended getting something for you, right? And at first I was like, well, why are we going to get that for him, right? But then something you've said to me before is Hampstead really sticks on you, right? So now. You get it, yeah. And so I thought about that, and what we got you is a little gift so that every time when you're in your office and you're forgetting about us, we're going to ask you to turn around and really physically get mad or whatever with this thing, and we're going to stick with you. So what we got you was this nice cactus. So a number of cacti in this, and a gift card for you. So thank you so much, Mike.
Hopefully I can keep alive.
Well, I don't know. It's probably hard to kill. Yeah. I mean, I could probably
If you can kill that, you probably shouldn't have kids.
Yeah.
You might be surprised. All right.
I can't not say anything to you, even though we don't know each other very well. I really just only met you from this experience. I think, you jumped into this role, both feet in, and I think, it's hard for people to understand all the things that you do until you actually see them doing it, and I've seen you doing it. So I just want to say thank you, and thanks for everything you've done for Hampstead and for the Hampstead children and parents and community, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
I'll second, third, fourth, fifth that. I remember sitting in on the interview process when we finagled you somehow to come to Hampstead. And I remember you standing out in that process, and in my mind during that time, it was no question that you were going to do great things, and you proved that. The only thing I'm going to say different than everybody else is go get your superintendent of the year, but you're not going to do it until Bob does.
All right.
Yes.
I love competition, so remember, if you're not first, you're last.
All right, I'm not, nope.
Nope.
I've already done it, but I'm going to do it real quick. I know I've said it before. The first time I interviewed you, because I've now done it a couple of times, and I hadn't really been in on a process like that before. We interviewed a lot of candidates. We met a lot of people that those candidates worked for. I knew, and I had no prior knowledge of you before that. Even though you worked in Timberlane, I had no prior knowledge. I knew there was something then because of the way your staff spoke about you. That has continued in Hampstead. I know it will continue wherever you go. I've said things before, so I don't feel like I need to go super crazy, but it's been said. And we say thank you for things a lot, but I really want you to know how genuinely we thank you, because you have made a difference, especially in a year that was, I'm not going to say awful, but like
Different.
Real different, awful, difficult. And I know you made a difference to the staff, and in that regard, a difference to the kids.
Thank you.
So maybe we don't say goodbye, maybe we say we'll see you later, whether it's in competition for
Sure.
Superintendent of the Year or not. But you will be really missed, and thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you guys around for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Take my cactus.
All right, we're just closing this out for the public. Other business, old business. I had something, but I think, Jason, you've got one thing for other business?
Yeah, kind of going hand in hand with the community partnership. The Hampstead Planning Board has sent out a survey and is asking for all of the town, all the residents, and even all of the boards within town to take their survey for the Hampstead Master Plan. I took the survey today. It takes about 10 minutes. They're looking at different things like infrastructure in town, simple things like bike lanes, sidewalks, things that are important to the community. Before I let Mr. Flynn go, he is going to help me draft something that we're going to also send out to the parents of the district so that they have a link to that survey. The planning board asks that, if you feel up to it, if you'd like to, if you want to put your input into it, please take the survey. Express your opinions and your concerns, what you want to see improvements on within the town. The comments that you enter on this survey can be anonymous if you choose to, and it could also be you can put your name in at the end of it if you so choose to have your comments there, and all comments will be visible whether they're anonymous or not. I think I got everything I needed to say.
They need to be, they're looking for it for June 30th? Was there a deadline? I thought there was a deadline.
There
on
is a
that.
deadline. I can't recall off the top of my head what the deadline
the end of
was.
June, but I could be wrong.
When we send out the information to the parents in the town, we'll make sure that the deadline's there along with the link and any pertinent information.
And just to add to that, Jason, this was one of the first partnerships we did with the town where we communicated some of the bigger items. Of course, we have the 60s addition, or the addition to the central school, not the 60s addition, but the addition to the central school. The parking lot that we're talking about for middle school, because that's one that we would look to say with the town, hey, can we get a bigger bang for the buck if we join with other paving needs when we do that. So just know that it's not just town, it's not town versus school, it's town and school is what we're looking at for that master plan. So thank you, Jason. The only other one is under other businesses, June 22nd, we officially have a board meeting, but through, I don't know if we have to vote on that one, Kathy, or not, but through consensus, we decided we're not going to meet on June 22nd, but as we talked about earlier, we will meet on July 6th, Tuesday. So that's the only announcement for under other business. And with that, I'm looking for a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3 to C.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I do not believe we're making any decisions, so we will not be coming out to announce anything after such. So, Kathy, you want to take the roll call for?
Mr. Giard.
Yes.
Mrs. Malcolm.
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell.
Yes.
Mrs. Pellegrini.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
The time is
Time is,
9:29.
thank you.